Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to explore Enneagram compatibility, and we're looking at a pair that I think is super interesting, type 1 and type 4.
Ooh, yeah. I can already see how that one's going to be interesting. Are we talking like structure versus fluidity, logic versus emotion? How do those two personalities actually find some kind of balance?
Exactly. So we've got type 1, the reformer, who is all about ethics and doing the right thing, being disciplined, always striving for improvement. They really value objectivity and self-control.
Right, right.
And then we have type 4, the individualist. And they are all about those deep, intense feelings and authentic self-expression. They're drawn to beauty, to idealism, to that emotional depth. So I think it's Personality NFT who points out that communication can be a little bit of a challenge for this pair.
Yeah, how so?
Well, imagine for a sec, type 1 and type 4 are trying to solve a problem together.
Okay, yeah.
The type 1 might want to jump right in, create an action plan. Let's fix this. Let's do it. But the type 4 might want to take a step back and explore. Like the emotional landscape first. How is everybody feeling? What are the emotional needs at play here?
Yeah. I can see that being an issue. The type 1 might see the type 4 as being kind of overly emotional or dramatic or maybe even a little bit too sensitive.
Right.
And then on the other hand, you've got the type 4 who might feel like the type 1 is just like a robot. Cold, dismissive, doesn't get it.
Yeah. But it's interesting because even though they approach things so differently, they actually share this desire to make the world a better place.
That's true, yeah.
So it's about recognizing that shared goal. And maybe for the type 1, trying to practice some of those I feel statements
Oh, that's good, yeah.
to kind of bridge that gap with the type 4 who really craves that emotional connection. And then thinking about their daily life. Imagine a type 1 who thrives on organization, color-coded calendars. Everything has its place.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
And then you have a type 4 who's a little bit more spontaneous,
Right.
bringing in bursts of creativity and color.
I like that. So it's that classic kind of like clash between that need for structure and then that spontaneity. But the cool thing is, the type 4 can actually challenge the type 1 to just loosen up a little bit, right? See beyond those rigid
I
worldviews.
love that.
And then the type 1, on the other hand, can offer the type 4 that like grounding stability to kind of help them stay on track.
Yeah, because the type 4 can sometimes get a little lost in the clouds.
Uh-huh.
So I think it's really about finding that sweet spot where both types can thrive and respecting each other's boundaries too.
Absolutely, yeah. What about friendships between a type 1 and a type 4? It seems like there's actually a really nice natural balance there, right?
I think so too. You've got the type 1 who's dependable, offers that security, and then you've got the type 4 who's bringing that emotional richness, those deep insights.
Right, right.
But communication is still super important.
Oh, of course, always. Especially because, even though both of these types want to make a difference in the world, their approach to doing that can be completely different.
Totally.
And that kind of brings us to maybe a sticking point. Potential areas of conflict. We're talking about practicality versus emotionality. That can be tough.
How do you see that playing out? Like, what does that actually look like in real life?
So, okay, let's say we're making a decision together, right? The type 1 might be very logical about it. Pros and cons list, weighing things out.
Very methodical.
Very exactly. But then you have the type 4 might be swayed by their gut feeling, their intuition, their emotions, right?
Sure.
And that can lead to frustration on both sides, right? The type 1's like, what are you doing? This makes no sense. And the type 4's like, you're not even listening to my feelings. So it's important for like the type 1 to really tap into their empathy.
Yeah.
Try to understand what's motivating the type 4 emotionally. And for the type 4 to learn how to express their feelings clearly. Using specific examples instead of getting swept up in all that emotion.
So again, communication is key here.
Always. Always. And then another interesting thing is how they deal with change. Let's say a big life transition happens. A type 1 who likes to feel in control, likes to know what to expect, might feel really stressed out.
Yeah, they want that predictability.
Totally. But a type 4 might actually embrace that change, see it as an opportunity to, grow, discover new things.
Right, they're more adaptable to the unexpected.
Exactly. And this is where I think those wings come in.
Tell me more about that.
So depending on the type 1's wing, they might actually be a little bit more flexible than your typical type 1.
Sure.
They might have some qualities of like a type 9, the peacemaker, which makes them a little bit easier going. So there's variations even within the same type.
So interesting. Okay, let's talk about dating. How about when a type 1 and type 4 try to date each other?
Ooh, now this is where it gets really spicy. They have this very different worldviews and relationship expectations. So the type 1 who's looking for stability, clarity, and love, might clash with the type 4 who wants that really intense emotional connection, maybe even a little bit of drama, let's be real.
And type 1s can sometimes be a little critical,
Yeah.
which can be difficult for a sensitive type 4 to handle.
Right. A healthy type 1 will use that criticism for self-improvement, but an unhealthy type 1 might just project it all over their partner.
So self-awareness is super important here too.
Oh, absolutely.
Both types need to understand their own tendencies and how it affects the other person.
Yeah, but let's not forget there's tons of potential for chemistry too.
Oh, I think so too.
Like that whole idea of opposites attracting, right? So the type 1 is grounded, that can balance the type 4's emotional intensity. And then the type 4 with all of that passion can really bring a spark to, the type 1's world.
Yeah, because sometimes the type 1 gets a little too serious.
Totally. So it's all about finding that balance where the differences actually complement each other instead of clashing.
Right. So instead of trying to change each other, actually seeing those differences as strengths.
Yeah, and being able to communicate openly and honestly about what you need and what you expect, and being willing to compromise.
And to appreciate what makes the other person unique.
Absolutely. And this dynamic isn't just for romance either. Think about them working on a project together.
Yeah, like a creative collaboration.
Right. So you got that type 1 with their incredible organization skills and that attention to detail.
Right.
And then you have the type 4 with that creative, out-of-the-box thinking. You put that together.
Yeah, I think they could really make something amazing.
Imagine the innovation.
It's like they each bring different tools and then they can really build something special.
I love that. And you know what it makes me think of?
What's it?
Some of those iconic partnerships throughout history, like those artists who totally changed their fields by blending traditional techniques with radical new ideas.
That's a good point, yeah.
Or even scientists who made huge discoveries by combining research with these intuitive leaps.
So you're saying this pairing has that potential?
Oh, for sure. It's all about recognizing and valuing those strengths in each other.
I love that. And it's not just about achieving something externally. It's about supporting each other's personal growth, too.
Absolutely. Which I think is so interesting in this pairing because they can really offer each other exactly what they need to evolve.
So how does that work?
So you've got the type 1 with all that grounded practicality. They can help the type 4 take their idealism and make it real, actually do something with it.
Right. So instead of just dreaming big, they can actually make a plan and take action.
Exactly. And then the type 4, with all their emotional depth, can help the type 1 connect with their feelings more. Loosen up that, self-control a little bit. Show them that it's okay to be vulnerable and express themselves.
So beautiful. It's like they each hold the key to unlock that potential in each other.
I love that. And that journey of growth together can just bring them even closer.
Right. It deepens their bond.
For sure. And it goes back to what we were talking about with empathy. It's so important in any relationship, but especially with this pairing.
Right, because even when those differences create conflict, empathy is that bridge back to understanding.
It really is. It's about stepping into the other person's shoes and just appreciating their perspective.
Right.
Especially when things get tough, because they will.
Right. Every relationship has its challenges.
Oh, yeah. And you know what else we have to remember?
What's that?
Self-awareness.
Right. We were talking about that earlier.
So important, especially for the type 1.
Why is that?
They got to be careful, that tendency to criticize, make sure they're not projecting their own need for perfection onto the type 4.
Yeah. They have to make sure it's directed inward, not outward.
Exactly. And the type 4, well, they've got to learn how to manage those big feelings in a healthy way, not just dump them on their partner.
Right. So both types have work to do. But I think when they do that work, it can be so worth it.
Absolutely. They need to create that safe space for each other, where they can just be themselves.
Yeah, where they feel seen and understood and accepted for who they are.
Exactly. I think we've talked a lot about the challenges, but let's remember how much potential there is too.
Oh, absolutely. When they can find that balance, it can be incredible.
Like magic.
It's like, each one brings their own piece to the puzzle, and then they put it together, and you have this beautiful, complete picture. But it takes work. It takes communication and empathy and self-awareness.
Yeah. And patience. Don't forget patience.
Oh, so important.
I'm curious, what else do you want to dive into with this pairing? What about their intellectual connection?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. I'm excited to talk about that.
That's where it gets really interesting, right? Because you've got that methodical, analytical mind of the type 1, meeting that abstract, imaginative approach of the type 4. It's like a clash of the titans.
I'm already picturing their conversations.
Mm-hmm.
The type 1's dissecting ideas with logic and precision, and then the type 4's coming in with those intuitive leaps and that emotional intelligence.
It's a beautiful thing. They really push each other to think outside the box, challenge their assumptions, create something totally new.
I wonder if they could even have one of those epic love stories, like in the movies, where two totally different people fall in love against all odds.
Oh, absolutely. Remember, opposites attract.
Right.
The type 1's grounded energy can balance the type 4's intensity. They both have this deep desire for personal growth and, making the world a better place.
Yeah, they have that shared purpose.
It's a really strong foundation for a relationship.
I think so too. I'm really fascinated by that intellectual connection, that blend of logic and emotion, like a dance.
It's beautiful.
And it's not just about romantic relationships either. It applies to friendships and work relationships too.
That's so true. The possibilities are truly endless when you think about the synergy that happens.
So much potential.
So much potential. And, even with all the potential, they still need to remember to nurture the relationship.
Oh, right.
And that shared commitment to personal development is so important.
It's not just about the initial spark. It's about that long-term journey of growing together.
And it's amazing how much they can actually help each other with that growth. The type 1 can help the type 4 make those dreams a reality,
Right, by giving them that structure, that plan.
Exactly. And then the type 4, they can encourage the type 1 to just let go a little.
Be more spontaneous.
Exactly. Embrace their feelings, all that good stuff.
So again, it's like they each hold a piece of what the other person needs.
Perfectly said. It's about recognizing that, personal growth isn't a solo mission. We need people. We need each other.
And it sounds like the type 1 and type 4 can really be that for each other.
They can be each other's biggest cheerleaders.
What?
Supporting each other through thick and thin.
This deep dive has been so fascinating. We've learned so much about their strengths and their challenges.
And that incredible potential.
And how those differences can actually be a source of strength and growth and even, lead to a really passionate and fulfilling love story.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It really is. It just shows that even the most opposite personalities can find harmony and create something amazing when they come together.
And we can't forget, all this wisdom is coming from personality NFT.
Of course.
They have such great insights.
Yes. So as we kind of start to wrap up this first part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
I just feel a sense of, wonder and optimism
Me too.
about the possibilities when you have two seemingly opposite personalities who embrace those differences and choose to grow together.
It's funny because even though we're talking about all these differences, a type 1 and a type 4 can really complement each other intellectually.
Totally. So we've got that type 1 who loves logic, loves to analyze things, and then you have the type 4 who's more intuitive, imaginative. I think when you put those two together, you get some pretty amazing results.
For sure. Imagine them having a conversation about, I don't know, some complex issue. The type 1 might want to break it down step by step, right? Look at all the facts, use logic to figure it out.
Right.
But then you have the type 4 who's going to come in with that more holistic perspective, those emotional insights, maybe even a little bit of poetry. It's cool.
It's like they each see a different side of the coin. So together, they have a much more complete understanding of the issue.
Yeah, I love that. Their differences actually become their strength, right?
Totally.
And it makes me think of all those, historical figures who did amazing things by combining these, seemingly opposite approaches. What about Marie Curie and Pierre Curie? Their work on radioactivity, right? Combining physics and chemistry, brilliance.
Yeah, it's incredible what they were able to accomplish together.
Right, and I think that's what's so cool about this pairing, too. That potential to really make history, to shake things up.
So they could be like the next power couple of innovation.
Oh, absolutely. Think about all the different fields they could excel in, like design. The type 1 could be all about the details, making sure everything's perfect.
Right, and the type 4 brings that aesthetic, that unique style.
Exactly. Or even social activism. The type 1 wants to make a difference, right? Make the world a better place.
Yeah.
But then you bring in the type 4 with all that passion and emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
They can really connect with people on a deeper level. It's powerful.
Yeah, it really is. So we've got that intellectual synergy happening. But let's not forget about the sparks, the romance.
Oh, yes, of course. We got to talk about the romantic potential here. I mean, come on, opposites attract. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
I think a type 1 stability can be really appealing to a type 4, that grounded energy.
And the type 4 brings the excitement.
Yes. All that passion, that emotional depth can really shake things up for the type 1 in a good way. It's that classic yin and yang dynamic.
But I imagine that same intensity that creates the spark can also lead to some challenges, right?
Oh, absolutely. There are different approaches to life, to relationships. It can create friction. Like, think about how they handle spontaneity.
Yeah, the type 1 like things planned out.
Right. Predictability is their comfort zone.
Right.
But the type 4 might want to just, go with the flow, see what happens.
Throw caution to the wind.
Exactly. Or even how they express their emotions.
Yeah, the type 4 tends to be more expressive.
Way more. And that can be overwhelming for a type 1 who likes to keep things more, contained.
Right. So it's really all about finding that balance, that sweet spot where those differences work together instead of against each other.
Yeah. And that's where communication comes in. Both partners have got to be able to express their needs and expectations and to listen to each other.
With empathy.
Yes. Empathy is key. Try to see things from the other person's perspective. And remember, all relationships take work.
That's for sure.
But I think with this pairing, self-awareness is super important too.
Absolutely.
Especially for the type 1.
Why is that?
Because they have that tendency to be critical.
Yeah.
They got to be careful that it doesn't come across as controlling or judgmental.
Right. That's a good point.
And the type 4, they have to learn how to manage their emotions in a healthy way right
Yeah,
now.
just explode all the time.
Exactly. They got to find healthy outlets for all that emotional energy. But I mean, even with all the challenges, I think this pairing has so much potential.
I agree. I think they can be really amazing together.
When they get it right, when they find that balance, it's incredible.
I love that. I love that visual of them completing each other's skill sets.
Yeah, it's like they're each holding a piece of the puzzle. And when they put those pieces together, it's magic.
It's funny you should say that because I was just thinking, imagine a type 1 and a type 4 starting a business together.
Oh my gosh, yes.
The type 1 could be in charge of all the logistics, the operations, making sure everything's running smoothly.
And the type 4 brings that creativity, that passion, They could really inspire the team and build a strong brand.
It's like the perfect combination of head and heart.
I know, right?
A company that's run with both efficiency and soul.
And that's just one example,
Right? They could apply this to anything. Raising a family, traveling the world.
Absolutely. It's all about understanding each other's strengths and weaknesses, communicating effectively, and being willing to meet in the middle.
And remembering that they're on the same team.
Exactly. Okay, we've talked a lot about the dynamics of this pairing, but I think it's also important to talk about personal growth.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because even with all the sparks and potential, any relationship needs to nurture that individual growth.
Right. They have to keep evolving, both as individuals and as a couple.
And it's amazing how these two types can actually help each other do that. Think about it. The type 1, with their practicality and groundedness, they can help the type 4 turn those big dreams into something real.
Right. They can give them the tools to actually make it happen.
And then on the flip side, you have the type 4 with all that emotional depth and sensitivity. They can encourage the type 1 to loosen up a little, embrace their feelings, be more vulnerable.
It's like they each have this superpower that can unlock something special in the other person.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's about recognizing that personal growth isn't a solo mission. We need each other. We need that support and encouragement.
It sounds like the type 1 and the type 4 can really provide that for each other.
They can. They can be each other's cheerleaders, confidants, partners in crime, helping each other through the ups and downs of life.
And all those challenges that we've been talking about, those differences, those can actually be opportunities for growth too.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. When we're challenged, when we're pushed outside our comfort zones, that's when we really grow.
Right. So even when those differences lead to conflict, if they can approach it with empathy, it can actually bring them closer.
Exactly. And it all goes back to what we were talking about earlier, that empathy is like the secret sauce in this relationship.
It's the key that unlocks everything.
It's about being able to step into the other person's shoes, understanding their motivations, appreciating their unique way of experiencing the world.
And remembering that we're all on this journey of self-discovery.
And having a partner who can hold space for us, with all our imperfections. That's a beautiful thing.
So it sounds like even though the type 1 and the type 4 have these contrasting personalities, they actually have the potential to create something really special together.
Oh, they absolutely do. They can be each other's rock,
Yeah.
supporting each other through thick and thin.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive. We've covered so much ground,
Boom, just scratched the surface.
but I think we've highlighted some really important points about this unique pairing. Their strengths, their challenges, the incredible potential they have to create something truly amazing together.
And we can't forget where all this wisdom is coming from. Personality NFT, they've given us so much to think about.
They really have.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I just want to say I'm feeling really hopeful about the possibilities for this pairing.
Me too. It's so inspiring to see how two seemingly opposite personalities can come together and create something so beautiful.
And I think it's a reminder for all of us, no matter what our Enneagram type is, that differences can be a source of strength.
Absolutely. They can challenge us to grow, to expand our horizons, to create something truly unique.
So to all the type 1s and type 4s out there, embrace those differences. Celebrate the unique beauty of each personality, and remember that the most fulfilling relationships are often the ones that challenge us to evolve.
This has been such a thought-provoking exploration. We've uncovered so much about this fascinating pairing.
It's a beautiful reminder that even the most seemingly opposite personalities can find harmony and create something truly remarkable together.
You know, it's amazing when you think about it, how two types that seem so different on the surface can actually have this incredible intellectual connection.
Right. It's like you've got the type 1 who's all about logic and structure, always analyzing, and then you've got the type 4 who's driven by intuition and imagination. It's such a cool mix.
Yeah, picture them having a conversation about I don't know, a world problem or something, some complex issue. The type 1 might be like, okay, let's break this down step by step. Look at the facts, the data, the logic.
Right. Very methodical.
Exactly. But then the type 4 comes in and they're like, hold on, what about the emotional impact? What about the bigger picture? We need to consider all the angles.
And they might even throw in a little poetry or something just to spice things up.
Totally. It's like they each bring a different piece of the puzzle, and together they create this more holistic, nuanced understanding.
It's beautiful. And it makes me think about, some of those historical figures who totally changed the game by blending those seemingly opposite approaches.
Oh, yeah, like who?
Well, what about Albert Einstein? His theories in physics were obviously grounded in science, but there was also this sense of wonder, this imagination that fueled his breakthroughs.
Yeah, that's a great example. Or Frida Kahlo, her art was so raw and emotional, but was also incredibly powerful and thought-provoking.
Exactly. And I think this pairing, the type 1 and the type 4, they have that potential too. That ability to challenge conventional thinking and really shake things up.
They could be the ultimate power couple of innovation.
Oh, for sure. I mean, just imagine them starting a business together. The type 1 could be the CEO, making sure everything runs smoothly, handling the finances and the logistics.
Right. And then the type 4 could be the creative director, coming up with a vision, inspiring the team, connecting with customers on a deeper level.
I love that. It would be a company that's both super efficient and also really soulful. They could really make a difference.
It's so inspiring to think about. And we can't forget about, the romantic potential here.
Oh, yeah, right. There's got to be some sparks flying when these two get together.
I think so too. It's like they each offer something the other one craves. The type 1 brings that stability, that groundedness the type 4 might be looking for.
And the type 4 brings that passion, that sense of adventure and excitement that can really add some spice to the type 1's life.
Yeah, because sometimes the type 1 can get a little too serious, right?
Totally. But of course, those same differences can sometimes create a little friction.
Yeah, that's true. It's not always smooth sailing.
The type 1's need for order might clash with the type 4's spontaneity.
Right, and the type 4's, big emotions might feel a bit overwhelming for the type 1 who's more, reserved and controlled.
It's all about finding that balance, that sweet spot where their differences actually complement each other instead of, butting heads.
It takes work. It takes understanding. It takes communication.
Absolutely. They got to be able to talk to each other openly and honestly about their needs and their expectations, and they have to listen to each other.
With empathy.
Yes, with empathy. Put yourself in the other person's shoes. Try to see things from their perspective. And remember, every relationship has its challenges. It's part of the journey.
It's about supporting each other through the ups and downs.
Exactly. And I think especially for this pairing, they have to really focus on self-awareness too.
Oh, yeah, that's so important for any relationship, but especially this one.
The type 1 has to be mindful of that tendency to criticize.
Mm.
Make sure they're not projecting their own, need for perfection onto the type 4.
Right, they have to make sure it's constructive, not destructive.
And the type 4, they have to learn how to manage those big feelings, Find healthy ways to express themselves without, overwhelming their partner.
So both types have work to do. But I think when they do that work, it can be such a beautiful and rewarding relationship.
Oh, absolutely. When they can really see and appreciate each other for who they are, it's magic.
So for all the type 1s and type 4s out there listening, remember to embrace those differences, to communicate with kindness and compassion, and to celebrate that unique bond that you've created.
And if you want to learn more about this fascinating world of Enneagram compatibility, be sure to check out Personality NFT.
Yes, their insights have been so helpful for us in exploring this dynamic pairing. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of type 1 and type 4 compatibility. It's been quite a journey.
It has.
We've learned so much about their strengths, their challenges, and the incredible potential they have to create something truly special together.
It's a beautiful reminder that even the most opposite personalities can find harmony and create something amazing when they come together.
Knowing these dynamics, how do you think type 1 and type 4 can best navigate their differences to create a harmonious and fulfilling connection? Let us know what you think. Thanks for joining us.